The fire crackled softly in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls of Mr. Thompson's study. Books lined the shelves from floor to ceiling, their spines worn with age and use. A collection of framed photographs sat on a nearby table, each capturing a moment from a life well lived. Mr. Thompson, a kind-faced man with twinkling eyes and a neatly trimmed white beard, settled into his favorite armchair. He wore a comfortable cardigan and held a warm mug of tea, its steam rising gently in the air. "So," he began, his voice a little raspy but full of warmth, "you want to hear about my days as a high school teacher, eh? Well, where do I even begin? It was a lifetime ago, it feels like." He chuckled softly, a sound like rustling leaves. "I suppose the beginning is always the best place to start." He took a sip of his tea, his gaze drifting towards the photographs. There were pictures of him with his wife, his children, and even a few with former students. Each image held a story, a memory waiting to be unlocked. "I spent over 30 years teaching at Northwood High," he continued. 30 years shaping young minds, or at least trying to. It wasn't always easy, mind you. There were plenty of ups and downs, moments of triumph and moments of utter frustration. He paused, a thoughtful expression on his face. "But looking back, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was the most rewarding experience of my life." He gestured towards a small, wooden box on the table. "This box," he said, "is filled with mementos from my teaching days. Letters from students, little gifts they made for me, even some silly notes passed during class." He smiled. "Each one brings back a flood of memories." He carefully opened the box, revealing a colorful assortment of trinkets. A faded paper flower, a smooth river stone painted with the words, "Best Teacher," a handwritten thank you note adorned with glitter. He picked up the note, his eyes scanning the childish handwriting. "This was from Sarah," he said softly. She was a shy, quiet girl who struggled with math. But she was also incredibly bright and determined. I spent extra time with her, helping her understand the concepts. And you know what? She ended up acing the final exam. That's the kind of thing that makes all the hard work worthwhile." He placed the note back in the box, a fond smile still on his face. "Teaching isn't just about lecturing and grading papers," he explained. "It's about connecting with students, understanding their struggles, and helping them reach their full potential. It's about being a mentor, a role model, and sometimes even a friend." The fire popped, sending a shower of sparks up the chimney. Mr. Thompson settled back in his chair, ready to share more of his stories. The room was filled with a sense of warmth and nostalgia, a testament to a life dedicated to education and the power of human connection. The tales of Northwood High were ready to be told. Now, where was I? Mr. Thompson chuckled, adjusting his glasses. "Ah, yes, the beginning. My first year at Northwood. I was so young, so eager, so full of ideas. I thought I could change the world, one student at a time." He leaned back in his chair, a faraway look in his eyes. "I remember walking into my classroom for the first time. Room 203. It smelled of chalk dust and old textbooks. The desks were arranged in neat rows, waiting to be filled with eager faces. I had spent weeks preparing my lesson plans, crafting engaging activities, and decorating the room with posters and inspiring quotes. I was hired to teach English and history," he explained. "Two of my favorite subjects. I loved reading and writing, and I had a passion for history. I wanted to share that passion with my students. I wanted to make them see the world in a new way." He smiled, remembering his youthful enthusiasm. "I had all these grand ideas about how I was going to teach. No boring lectures, no rote memorization. I was going to use games, debates, and creative projects to bring the subjects to life. I wanted my students to be active participants in their learning, not just passive recipients of information." He paused, a hint of amusement in his voice. Of course, reality quickly set in. Not all students were as enthusiastic as I was. Some were bored, some were distracted, and some were downright disruptive. I quickly learned that teaching wasn't as easy as it looked. I remember one particular lesson on Shakespeare, he continued. I had planned this elaborate activity where the students would act out scenes from Romeo and Juliet. I thought it would be a fun and engaging way to learn about the play. But half the class refused to participate, and the other half just giggled and made silly faces. It was a complete disaster. He shook his head, laughing softly. I was so discouraged. I thought I had failed. I started to doubt myself and my abilities as a teacher. Was I really cut out for this? But he didn't give up. He was determined to find a way to reach his students. He started experimenting with different teaching methods, trying to find what worked best for each individual student. He spent extra time with those who were struggling, offering them encouragement and support. I realized that teaching wasn't just about delivering information, he said. It was about building relationships with my students, understanding their needs, and creating a positive and supportive learning environment. It was about making them feel valued and respected. Slowly but surely, things started to improve. The students became more engaged, more interested in learning. He started to see progress, not just in their grades, but in their attitudes and their confidence. He was making a difference, one student at a time. The initial challenges fueled his determination to connect with his students. He started to find the joy in those small victories, and his passion for teaching was reignited. He knew then that despite the difficulties, he was exactly where he was meant to be. Of course, Mr. Thompson said, stirring his tea, not every student was easily reached. There was always one, or maybe two, who presented a particular challenge. I remember a young man named Michael. He was a bright kid, no doubt about it, but he was always acting out. Disrupting class, talking back, refusing to do his work. He was a constant source of frustration, not just for me, but for the other students as well. He sighed, a hint of weariness in his voice. Michael came from a difficult home life. His parents were divorced, and he was being raised by his grandmother. He didn't get much attention or support at home, and I think he was acting out because he was lonely and felt like no one cared. My first instinct was to discipline him, to send him to the principal's office every time he misbehaved, Mr. Thompson admitted. But I realized that wasn't going to solve the problem. It might stop him from disrupting class in the short term, but it wouldn't address the underlying issues. He decided to try a different approach. He started talking to Michael, trying to understand what was going on in his life. He learned about his difficult home situation, his struggles in school, and his feelings of isolation. I discovered that Michael was actually a very sensitive and intelligent young man, Mr. Thompson said. He was just struggling to cope with his circumstances. He needed someone to listen to him, to understand him, and to show him that he mattered. Mr. Thompson started spending extra time with Michael, helping him with his schoolwork and just talking to him about his problems. He encouraged him to participate in class and praised him when he did well. He tried to create a positive and supportive environment for him, both in and out of the classroom. It wasn't easy, Mr. Thompson admitted. There were still times when Michael acted out, when I wanted to give up on him. But I knew that I couldn't. I knew that he needed me, even if he didn't always show it. Slowly but surely, Michael started to change. He became less disruptive in class, more engaged in his schoolwork, and more respectful of his teachers and classmates. He even started to smile more often. One day, Mr. Thompson recalled, Michael came to my office after class. He looked me in the eye and said, "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. You've made a big difference in my life." That was one of the proudest moments of my career. Michael's story was a reminder that every student is an individual with their own unique challenges and needs. It reinforced the importance of looking beyond the surface and trying to understand the root causes of their behavior. It also taught Mr. Thompson the power of compassion, patience, and unwavering belief in the potential of every student, even the most challenging ones. He learned that sometimes, the greatest impact a teacher can have is simply to be there for a student who needs someone to care. But it wasn't always success stories like Michael's, Mr. Thompson said quietly, his gaze clouding over slightly. There were times when I felt like I was failing, that I wasn't reaching anyone at all. Those were the hardest moments. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I remember one particular year, I had a student named Emily in my English class. Emily was a bright girl, very creative and articulate, but she struggled with writing. She had a hard time organizing her thoughts and putting them down on paper. Mr. Thompson tried everything he could think of to help Emily. He gave her extra writing assignments, provided her with detailed feedback, and met with her individually to go over her work. He tried different teaching methods, from brainstorming sessions to outlining techniques. But nothing seemed to work. Emily just couldn't seem to grasp the fundamentals of writing, Mr. Thompson explained. She would get frustrated and discouraged, and I could see the disappointment in her eyes. It was heartbreaking to watch. He felt a growing sense of inadequacy. He wondered if he was failing Emily, if he wasn't a good enough teacher to help her overcome her challenges. He started to doubt his abilities and question his effectiveness. I remember one particular assignment, Mr. Thompson said, his voice tinged with sadness. It was an essay on The Great Gatsby, and Emily had put in a lot of effort. But when I read her essay, it was a mess. The ideas were disorganized, the writing was unclear, and the grammar was full of errors. He had to give Emily a failing grade on the assignment. It was a difficult decision, but he felt like he had no choice. He knew that Emily was trying her best, but her work simply wasn't up to par. When I handed back the essays, Mr. Thompson recalled, Emily didn't say a word. She just took her paper and looked down at her desk. I could see the tears welling up in her eyes. He felt terrible. He wanted to comfort her, to tell her that everything would be okay. But he didn't know what to say. He felt like he had let her down. That night, Mr. Thompson said, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Emily and her struggles. I wondered if I had done everything I could to help her. I questioned whether I was truly making a difference in her life. The experience with Emily was a harsh reminder that teaching isn't always easy or rewarding. There are times when, despite your best efforts, you can't reach every student. There are times when you feel like you're failing, like you're not making a difference. These moments of disappointment can be difficult to cope with, but they are also an important part of the learning process, pushing teachers to reevaluate their methods and seek new ways to connect with students. Mr. Thompson's experience with Emily served as a turning point, forcing him to confront his own limitations and find new ways to improve his teaching. The weight of that failing grade hung heavy, a stark reminder of the responsibility he carried. Feeling so lost and unsure, I knew I needed help, Mr. Thompson said, his voice regaining some of its usual warmth. Northwood had a wonderful program where new teachers were paired with experienced mentors. I was lucky enough to be assigned to Mrs. Davison. She had been teaching English for over 20 years and was known throughout the school for her wisdom and her ability to connect with even the most difficult students. He smiled, a genuine smile of gratitude. I remember going to Mrs. Davison's classroom, feeling nervous and defeated. I told her about my struggles with Emily, how I had tried everything I could think of, but nothing seemed to work. I confessed that I was starting to doubt myself and my abilities as a teacher. Mrs. Davison listened patiently, nodding occasionally and offering words of encouragement. When Mr. Thompson had finished, she smiled kindly and said, "Teaching is a journey, Mr. Thompson. It's not always easy, and there will be times when you feel like you're failing. But those are the moments when you learn the most." She shared her own experiences with difficult students, times when she had felt lost and discouraged. She explained that every student is different, and what works for one student may not work for another. The key is to be flexible, to be patient, and to never give up on your students. Mrs. Davison gave me some invaluable advice, Mr. Thompson said. She suggested that I try to get to know Emily better, to understand her learning style and her individual needs. She encouraged me to talk to Emily about her struggles and to ask her what she thought would help. She also suggested that he try different teaching methods, ones that focused on breaking down writing into smaller, more manageable steps. She showed him some creative writing exercises that could help Emily express her ideas more clearly. The most important thing Mrs. Davison told me, Mr. Thompson said, was to be patient with myself and with Emily. She reminded me that progress takes time and that it's okay to make mistakes. She encouraged me to celebrate the small victories and to learn from the setbacks. He took Mrs. Davison's advice to heart. He started spending more time with Emily, getting to know her better and understanding her struggles. He implemented some of the new teaching methods that Mrs. Davison had suggested. Slowly but surely, Emily started to improve. She began to understand the fundamentals of writing, and her essays became more organized and articulate. She still struggled at times, but she was making progress. I learned so much from Mrs. Davison, Mr. Thompson said. She taught me the importance of mentorship, the value of patience, and the power of believing in your students, even when they don't believe in themselves. Her guidance was a lifeline, pulling him from the depths of self-doubt. He realized that seeking help wasn't a sign of weakness, but a strength that allowed him to grow as a teacher. Mrs. Davison's wisdom not only helped Emily but also transformed Mr. Thompson's approach to teaching, setting him on a path of continuous learning and improvement. And then, Mr. Thompson said, a spark returning to his eyes, there are those moments, those little victories, that make all the struggles worthwhile. I remember one day, a few weeks after I had started working with Mrs. Davison's advice, Emily came to me after class. She was holding a new essay she had written, a revised version of the Great Gatsby assignment. He paused, savoring the memory. She looked nervous, but also hopeful. She handed me the essay and said, "Mr. Thompson, I worked really hard on this. I tried to use the techniques you and Mrs. Davison showed me." Mr. Thompson took the essay and began to read. He was immediately struck by the difference. Emily's writing was clearer, more organized, and more engaging. She had finally managed to express her ideas in a coherent and compelling way. As I read, Mr. Thompson said, I could feel a lump forming in my throat. I was so proud of Emily, so impressed by her hard work and her determination. She had overcome her challenges and produced something truly remarkable. When he finished reading, he looked up at Emily and smiled. "This is excellent, Emily," he said. "This is a huge improvement. You should be very proud of yourself." Emily's face lit up with a radiant smile. "Really?" she asked, her voice filled with disbelief. "Do you really think so?" "I absolutely do," Mr. Thompson said. "This is a well-written, insightful essay. You've clearly put a lot of thought and effort into it." He gave Emily an A on the assignment. It was the first A she had ever received in his class. He could see the pride and joy in her eyes as she accepted the paper. That moment, Mr. Thompson said, was a turning point for both Emily and me. It was a moment of validation, a moment of triumph. It showed me that even the most challenging students can succeed if they have the right support and encouragement. From that day on, Emily's confidence grew. She became more active in class, more willing to take risks, and more engaged in her learning. She went on to excel in English and eventually graduated with honors. Emily's success, Mr. Thompson said, was a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of mentorship, and the transformative impact that a teacher can have on a student's life. He learned that true teaching wasn't just about delivering information, it was about fostering growth, celebrating effort, and unlocking potential that students themselves didn't know they possessed. Seeing Emily's beaming face after receiving that A was a reward more valuable than any salary, a confirmation that his dedication had made a real difference. It was a moment he would cherish forever, a bright spot in a career filled with both challenges and triumphs. Of course, Mr. Thompson chuckled, reaching for his tea again, it wasn't all serious essays and heartfelt breakthroughs. There were plenty of funny moments too. High school is a breeding ground for the absurd, you know. He smiled, a mischievous glint in his eye. I remember one year, we were putting on a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream. I was in charge of set design, and let me tell you, that was an experience. He explained that the students had decided to build a miniature forest on stage, complete with trees made of cardboard and vines made of crepe paper. Everything was going smoothly until the day of the dress rehearsal. We had this one student, a rather enthusiastic young man named Billy, who was playing the role of Puck, Mr. Thompson said. Billy was a bit of a prankster, and he loved to ad-lib his lines. During one scene, he was supposed to jump out from behind a tree and surprise the other actors. But Billy, being Billy, decided to take things a step further. He didn't just jump out from behind the tree, he climbed all the way to the top of it and started swinging from the branches like a monkey. The entire audience erupted in laughter, Mr. Thompson recalled. The other actors were completely thrown off, and I was just standing there, trying not to lose it. It was chaos. He managed to regain control of the situation, but not before Billy had knocked over half the set and nearly given the principal a heart attack. We had to have a serious talk with Billy about staying in character and following the script, Mr. Thompson said, but even I had to admit, it was pretty funny. The audience loved it, even if the principal didn't. Another time, during a history lesson on the American Revolution, a student asked him if George Washington wore a wig. Mr. Thompson explained that Washington did, in fact, wear a wig, but it was made of human hair, not animal hair as some people believed. Well, the student said, if George Washington wore a wig made of human hair, does that mean he was bald? Mr. Thompson paused, considering the question. I suppose it's possible, he said. But we don't really know for sure. The student then proceeded to launch into a detailed discussion about George Washington's hair loss, speculating on the possible causes and remedies. The entire class joined in, and before Mr. Thompson knew it, the lesson on the American Revolution had devolved into a debate about male pattern baldness. Those were the moments, Mr. Thompson said, when I realized that teaching wasn't just about imparting knowledge, it was about creating a community, a place where students could feel comfortable expressing themselves, even if it meant going off on a tangent every now and then. He learned to embrace the unexpected, to find the humor in everyday situations, and to appreciate the unique personalities of his students. These light-hearted moments added color to his career and served as a reminder that learning could be fun and engaging. The memory of Billy swinging from the cardboard trees still brought a smile to his face, a testament to the enduring power of laughter in the classroom. Then, of course, Mr. Thompson continued, his voice taking on a tone of quiet pride, there were the students who just soared. The ones who took everything you taught them and ran with it, achieving things you never could have imagined. I had one student, Sarah, who was truly exceptional. He reached for another photograph on his desk, a picture of a young woman in a graduation gown, beaming with happiness. This is Sarah, he said. She was in my English class many years ago. From the moment I met her, I knew she was special. Sarah was a voracious reader, a gifted writer, and an incredibly insightful thinker. She excelled in every assignment, always pushing herself to go above and beyond. She had a thirst for knowledge and a passion for learning that was truly inspiring. I remember one particular project, Mr. Thompson said. We were studying Shakespeare, and the students were assigned to write an essay analyzing one of his plays. Sarah chose Hamlet, and her essay was simply brilliant. He explained that Sarah's essay was not just a summary of the play, it was a deep and insightful analysis of the characters, the themes, and the language. She had a unique perspective and a remarkable ability to articulate her ideas. I was so impressed by her work, Mr. Thompson said. I knew that Sarah had a bright future ahead of her. He encouraged Sarah to pursue her passion for writing and to apply to the best universities in the country. She followed his advice and was accepted to several prestigious schools. She chose to attend Harvard, Mr. Thompson said, and she excelled there. She majored in English literature and graduated at the top of her class. After graduating from Harvard, Sarah went on to become a successful novelist. Her books were critically acclaimed and became bestsellers. She was invited to give lectures all over the world and became a respected voice in the literary community. I followed Sarah's career with great interest and pride, Mr. Thompson said. I felt like I had played a small part in her success, that I had helped her to discover her potential and to achieve her dreams. Years later, Sarah came back to visit Northwood High. She sought out Mr. Thompson and thanked him for his guidance and support. She told me that I had been the most influential teacher in her life, Mr. Thompson said, his voice filled with emotion. She said that I had inspired her to pursue her passion for writing and that I had given her the confidence to believe in herself. Sarah's success story was a reminder of the lasting impact that a teacher can have on a student's life. It was a testament to the power of education and the transformative potential of human connection. It showed Mr. Thompson that his work as a teacher was not just a job, it was a calling, a mission to help young people discover their talents and to reach for their stars. Sarah's achievements served as a constant source of inspiration, a reminder that even small acts of encouragement can have profound and far-reaching consequences. Mr. Thompson's expression grew somber, the firelight seeming to dim a bit in his eyes. "But teaching isn't always about triumphs and successes," he said softly. "There are also moments of profound sadness, moments that stay with you long after you leave the classroom." He paused, taking a deep breath. "I remember one year, I had a student named David. David was a bright, energetic young man with a contagious smile. He was a talented athlete and a popular student. Everyone loved David. David was also in Mr. Thompson's history class. He was particularly fascinated by the Civil War, spending hours reading books and watching documentaries on the subject. He dreamed of becoming a historian and sharing his knowledge with the world. One day, Mr. Thompson said, his voice barely above a whisper, David was involved in a car accident. He was seriously injured and rushed to the hospital. The entire school was devastated by the news. Students and teachers rallied around David and his family, offering prayers and support. Mr. Thompson visited David in the hospital, hoping to bring him some cheer. David was in a lot of pain, Mr. Thompson said, but he never lost his spirit. He was determined to recover and return to school. However, David's injuries were more severe than anyone had initially realized. After several weeks in the hospital, he developed complications and his condition worsened. One morning, Mr. Thompson said, his eyes filling with tears, we received the news that David had passed away. The school was plunged into mourning. Students and teachers gathered in the auditorium to share memories of David and to grieve his loss. Mr. Thompson struggled to find the words to express his sorrow. David's death was a profound shock, Mr. Thompson said. It was a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. He explained that David's passing had a lasting impact on him. It made him realize that teaching wasn't just about imparting knowledge, it was about building relationships, creating memories, and supporting students through difficult times. David's memory continues to inspire me, Mr. Thompson said. He taught me the importance of living life to the fullest, of pursuing your dreams, and of making a positive impact on the world. He learned that grief was a part of life, and that as a teacher, he had a responsibility to help his students cope with loss and to find meaning in their experiences. The memory of David, his bright smile and his passion for history, served as a constant reminder of the preciousness of life and the importance of making every moment count. David's death, though tragic, solidified Mr. Thompson's commitment to his students, not just as learners, but as individuals facing their own unique challenges and sorrows. It reinforced the importance of compassion and empathy in the classroom, turning it into a safe space where students could feel supported and understood. As the years went by, Mr. Thompson said, shifting slightly in his chair, the world changed, and so did education. When I first started teaching, we used chalkboards and textbooks. The internet was just a glimmer in someone's eye. Now, everything is digital. Students have access to information at their fingertips, and teaching methods have had to evolve to keep up. He chuckled, a hint of nostalgia in his voice. I remember the first time the school got computers. They were these massive machines that took up an entire room. We were all so excited, but we had no idea how to use them. He explained that the school had to hire a special computer teacher to train the staff. It was a steep learning curve, but eventually, they all adapted. The internet changed everything, Mr. Thompson said. Suddenly, students had access to a wealth of information that we never could have imagined. It was both exciting and overwhelming. He had to learn how to navigate the internet, how to filter information, and how to teach his students to do the same. He also had to adapt his teaching methods to incorporate technology into the classroom. It wasn't always easy, Mr. Thompson admitted. Some students were more tech-savvy than I was, and they would often show me new tricks and shortcuts. It was humbling, but it also kept me on my toes. He also noticed changes in the students themselves. They were more connected, more aware of the world around them, and more opinionated. They were also more stressed, more anxious, and more distracted. The pressures on students today are immense, Mr. Thompson said. They're constantly bombarded with information, they're competing for limited resources, and they're worried about their futures. He had to learn how to address these new challenges, how to support his students' mental and emotional well-being, and how to create a safe and inclusive learning environment. He had to become more than just a teacher, he had to become a counselor, a mentor, and a friend. Education is constantly evolving, Mr. Thompson said. It's a dynamic and ever-changing field. You have to be willing to adapt, to learn, and to grow if you want to be successful. He realized that the core principles of teaching, connecting with students, fostering their growth, and inspiring their love of learning, remained the same, even as the tools and techniques evolved. Navigating these changes required flexibility, a willingness to learn from his students, and a deep understanding of the challenges they faced in a rapidly changing world. The evolution of technology transformed his classroom and his role as an educator. The shift from chalkboards to computers required constant adaptation. After many years of teaching, I started to think about retirement, Mr. Thompson said, his gaze softening. It wasn't an easy decision. Teaching was my life. It was my passion. It was who I was. He explained that his health had started to decline. He was getting older, and the long hours and the constant stress were taking their toll. He also wanted to spend more time with his family, especially his grandchildren. My wife had been incredibly supportive throughout my career, Mr. Thompson said. She had always been there for me, offering encouragement and understanding. I wanted to give her the time and attention she deserved. He also had a desire to travel. He had always dreamed of seeing the world, of exploring different cultures, and of experiencing new adventures. Retirement seemed like the perfect opportunity to fulfill those dreams. I remember the day I submitted my retirement papers, Mr. Thompson said. It was a bittersweet moment. I was excited about the next chapter in my life, but I was also sad to leave behind the profession that I loved. He received an outpouring of support from his colleagues, his students, and his former students. They threw him a retirement party and showered him with gifts and cards. It was overwhelming, Mr. Thompson said. I realized how much I had touched people's lives and how much they had touched mine. He officially retired at the end of the school year. He cleaned out his classroom, packed up his belongings, and said goodbye to Northwood High. It was a difficult goodbye, Mr. Thompson admitted. But I knew it was time. I was ready to move on to the next stage of my life. His decision was driven by a combination of factors: his declining health, his desire to spend more time with family, and his longing to travel. The demands of teaching had become increasingly challenging, and he felt it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of educators. Though leaving the classroom was emotionally difficult, the overwhelming support he received from his colleagues and students confirmed that he had made a meaningful impact during his career. He knew it was the right time to embark on a new journey. The prospect of spending time with his grandchildren and exploring the world filled him with a sense of anticipation and excitement. Leaving the classroom was a significant change. The time had come to start his next chapter. Looking back on my career, Mr. Thompson said, a gentle smile spreading across his face, I can honestly say that it was the most rewarding experience of my life. It wasn't always easy, mind you. There were challenges, disappointments, and moments of self-doubt. But there were also triumphs, breakthroughs, and moments of profound joy. He paused, reflecting on the memories that filled his mind. I learned so much from my students, he continued. They taught me about resilience, about creativity, and about the importance of never giving up on your dreams. He explained that he had entered the teaching profession with the intention of shaping young minds, but he quickly discovered that his students were shaping him just as much. They taught me patience, Mr. Thompson said. They taught me compassion. They taught me how to listen and how to understand. They taught me the true meaning of empathy. He also learned the importance of connecting with students on a personal level, of understanding their individual needs, and of creating a safe and supportive learning environment. Teaching isn't just about imparting knowledge, Mr. Thompson said. It's about building relationships, fostering growth, and inspiring a love of learning. He realized that the most important lessons he taught were not always the ones that were written in the textbooks. They were the lessons about life, about character, and about the importance of making a positive impact on the world. I'm grateful for every student who walked through my classroom door, Mr. Thompson said. They all taught me something valuable, and they all helped me to become a better teacher and a better person. He expressed his gratitude for his colleagues, for his mentors, and for his family, who had all supported him throughout his career. He acknowledged that he could not have done it without them. Teaching is a demanding profession, Mr. Thompson said, but it's also a deeply fulfilling one. It's an opportunity to make a real difference in the lives of young people and to shape the future of the world. He learned that success wasn't measured by test scores or academic achievements alone, but by the positive influence he had on his students' lives and the values he instilled in them. The lessons they taught him were just as valuable as those he imparted to them. The years he spent in the classroom were filled with invaluable lessons. The experience was very rewarding. What do I hope my students remember about me? Mr. Thompson mused, stroking his beard thoughtfully. That's a good question. I suppose I hope they remember that I cared. That I cared about them, about their learning, and about their well-being. He explained that he never wanted to be just a teacher who stood at the front of the classroom and lectured. He wanted to be someone who connected with his students, who understood their struggles, and who helped them to reach their full potential. I hope they remember that I tried to make learning fun, Mr. Thompson said. That I tried to create a classroom where they felt comfortable taking risks, asking questions, and expressing themselves. He wanted his students to remember the laughter, the debates, and the creative projects that made his classroom a unique and engaging place. He wanted them to remember that learning could be an enjoyable experience, not just a chore. I hope they remember that I believed in them, Mr. Thompson said. Even when they didn't believe in themselves. He explained that he always tried to see the potential in every student, even the ones who were struggling. He wanted them to know that he had faith in their abilities and that he would always be there to support them. I hope they remember that I taught them more than just facts and figures, Mr. Thompson said. I hope I taught them how to think critically, how to solve problems, and how to be good citizens. He wanted his students to leave his classroom with the skills and knowledge they needed to succeed in life, but he also wanted them to be kind, compassionate, and responsible members of society. Ultimately, Mr. Thompson said, I hope they remember that I made a difference in their lives. That I helped them to become better people. He hoped they carried the lessons he taught them into their future. He wanted to leave a legacy of kindness, compassion, and a love of learning. He hoped that his students would go on to make the world a better place, inspired by the values he had instilled in them. He wanted them to remember him as someone who believed in them, who supported them, and who cared about their success. More than anything, he hoped they felt valued and respected. The impact he had was very important to him. He hoped he left a lasting impression. So, what's the final word on teaching? Mr. Thompson asked, leaning forward slightly, a twinkle in his eye. Well, it's this: teaching is important. It's one of the most important professions in the world. He emphasized that teachers are not just instructors, they are mentors, role models, and guides. They have the power to shape young minds, to inspire dreams, and to change the world. Education is the foundation of a strong society, Mr. Thompson said. It's the key to progress, to innovation, and to a better future for all. He explained that education empowers individuals to reach their full potential, to contribute to their communities, and to make informed decisions. It also promotes understanding, tolerance, and respect for others. Teachers play a vital role in shaping that future, Mr. Thompson said. They are the unsung heroes who work tirelessly to prepare young people for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. He acknowledged that teaching is not always easy. It can be demanding, stressful, and emotionally draining. But it is also incredibly rewarding. There's no greater feeling than seeing a student succeed, Mr. Thompson said. Than knowing that you've made a positive difference in their life. He encouraged young people to consider a career in teaching. He believed that it was a profession that offered endless opportunities for growth, for learning, and for making a meaningful contribution to society. If you have a passion for learning, a love of working with young people, and a desire to make a difference, Mr. Thompson said, then teaching may be the perfect career for you. He believed the future of education depended on dedicated people. He emphasized that teaching is not just a job, it's a calling. It's an opportunity to leave a lasting legacy, to inspire generations, and to help create a brighter future for all. It requires dedication, patience, and a genuine love for learning and for helping others. His career was very fulfilling. He was very happy with his decision to become a teacher. The world needs good teachers. The future is in their hands. Mr. Thompson settled back into his armchair, the fire crackling softly in the hearth. The shadows danced on the walls, illuminating the photographs and mementos that surrounded him. He took a final sip of his tea, a look of contentment on his face. "So, that's my story," he said, his voice filled with warmth and gratitude. "The story of my life as a high school teacher. It's a story of ups and downs, of challenges and triumphs, of laughter and tears. But most of all, it's a story of love. Love for my students, love for learning, and love for the profession that gave me so much." He paused, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I often wonder if I made a difference," he said. "If I truly had a positive impact on the lives of my students." He looked around the room, his eyes resting on the photographs of Sarah, Michael, Emily, and David. He remembered the faces of countless other students who had passed through his classroom over the years. "I may never know for sure," Mr. Thompson said. "But I hope that I did. I hope that I inspired them to be better people, to pursue their dreams, and to make the world a better place." He smiled, a gentle, knowing smile. "Teaching is a gift," he said. "It's a gift that keeps on giving. It's a gift that enriches your life in ways you never could have imagined." He encouraged everyone to appreciate the teachers in their lives, to thank them for their dedication, their hard work, and their unwavering commitment to their students. "Teachers are the heart and soul of our society," Mr. Thompson said. "They deserve our respect, our gratitude, and our support." He closed his eyes for a moment, savoring the memories of his teaching career. He felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. He knew that he had made the right decision, that he had chosen a profession that had allowed him to make a real difference in the world. The fire in the hearth burned low, casting a warm and comforting glow on the room. Mr. Thompson sat quietly in his armchair, surrounded by the treasures of his past. He was content. He had lived a good life. And he had been a good teacher. His legacy would live on. His journey was complete. The memories would last forever. The power of education would continue. He was very satisfied with his career. Teaching was very rewarding. He hoped the story touched others. The experience had a lasting impact. The end.